All right, welcome back to the Recruit Pursuit podcast. Today, we're joined by NorthwestGemz founder Josiah Westbrook. First, I just wanted to say, stay tuned for some upcoming episodes. I got a couple good guests lined up for the Pacific Northwest here. A couple coaches coming on in a few weeks, and maybe another little podcast here getting started with Josiah, and maybe another one here on this channel as well, with another Prep Hoops writer. But Josiah, thanks for coming on. How you doing?
Doing good, man. Doing good. I appreciate you for having me.
Yes, sir. I'm glad you're able to come on. It's been a little bit of scheduling difficulties for us to get this going, but we're
I
here.
know them busy schedules, man. Busy schedules, definitely. But if you put the time in, that's what happens.
That's right. That's right. All right. I just wanted to start with your background and your journey and how you got here. So I think
Yeah.
you graduated from Squalicum like 2016, 17.
2016. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
So I know you came in from Blaine. What was the transfer like into town, and why did you make that move?
So I actually grew up in Birch Bay Village. Um, so I went to Blaine High School, and the sports culture there is it's different. I say different in the way of it's not different like same core values. You want to win, you work hard, you put the time in, you get the results. They have the same values there. But in Blaine, it's kind of small town oriented. So everybody knows everybody. Kids play sports, as like a leisure event, like to be with your friends. And so growing up, I knew I wanted to be going to the next level. So as much as I enjoyed, playing and playing for the border rights, which I did, and I learned a lot athletically, and about myself. When I played Squalicum, Damek, who's also like one of my great friends, Damek Mitchell, I played with him in AAU. I knew he wanted to get to the next level, and just being able to be like 2 minutes from the school, I ended up moving to Bellingham on Sunset. So being 2 minutes from the school, and then like me and Damek training, just thinking like that, like pushing each other to get to the next level. I said I have to transfer. I have to leave because in Blaine, I knew I wouldn't be the same player that I grew into if I would have stayed there on my whole 4 years.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Actually, transition perfectly into what I was going to ask next about, with Meek and playing next to Demeek. What was
Yeah,
it like, playing alongside, someone like that and with you guys both averaging, 19, 20 a game back in high school?
yeah. It was honestly great. It's amazing. I wouldn't trade it. I wouldn't trade it. The only thing I would probably go back and redo is just I'll just redo it just to redo it. Like I wouldn't trade it. Don't regret it at all. Um, Playing with another player like that, like Damek is one of the best point guards, probably the best point guard I've ever played with. Just the way he thinks the game, our game's translated. I love scoring the ball. I like going downhill. I like being loud. Competitive. Damek, his IQ is out of this world, man. He's a general on the floor. He likes to put people in spots in positions for them to be successful. So, adding a player like me to where it's like, okay, yeah, like I'm downhill, like let's score. Demek's put me in the best position to score and to help the team out while also he's helping out all those other guys. We had Darius. Darius was shooting lights out from 3 point line. Chris Paz, he was out there looking like what I don't even know how to explain it. We Coach Dixon would always give him a nickname. I gotta remember. I gotta remember. By the end of this meeting, I'll remember. But we
Okay.
always had this play. We will feed Chris down low, and Chris would just bully his way in there and get. And Chris is a football player, but you play with alongside Demeek, you just set one screen. Demeek might make you look like you were JaVale McGee out here dunking like with
Oh
LeBron
yeah.
James. So I appreciate like my time that I had at Squalicum because I would have never been the player I was today without Demeek pushing me, Coach Dixon, uh, other athletes there too, even going into football like Christian Jorgensen, like one of the best quarterbacks I ever played with. Like insane talent was coming out of Squalicum for sure when I was there.
Yeah, the talent was great. And I remember watching you guys hoop, and it was always just electric, especially the home games. I mean, the student section's all the way up, and it was
Cool.
everyone supporting, and you guys were such a fun team to watch. It's electric.
Yeah.
But you talking about football actually kind of brings up what I was going to mention as well, because you were also a standout on the football field. I think you got all state, if I remember correctly, right? Or
Yeah, my sophomore year at Blaine.
Yeah. There you go. And then what was it? I believe you also had an offer from Washington State, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
what was the decision making, to hoop instead of go play football?
Okay, so the decision making to hoop instead of play football was it's like kind of a long story. But I'll try to make it as short as possible.
Yeah.
Uh, so my sophomore year actually was my first year I ever played like high school football. I played when I was younger, like how you say like Pop Warner football. I
Yeah.
played. But sophomore, I didn't play freshman year. Ended up getting hurt, and I was thinking like, okay, I'm just gonna be a hooper. Like, I don't want to play football, right? But then sophomore year, had a pretty good season, and
Pretty
all I
good.
knew, yeah, the only routes I knew was a slant, a hitch, and a go. I promise you, I didn't run anything else the whole entire year. I just ran a slant, a hitch, and a go, and they'd be like, Josiah, just like go up and get it. And so I was like, all right, cool. Like I like football. Like, it was pretty good. I played in the 1A classification. So the talent is pretty good in 1A. But it's not as much as I would say like you'll probably get like one or two guys that are probably like really elite on both sides of the ball in 1A.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you go up in classification, you got more kids, you probably got a lot more to pull from. Um but then, like after that, transferring Squalicum, Coach BY, shout out Coach BY at C Home.
Hmm.
Uh, he taught me there was a whole new level of route running, whole new level of football. So I was just like, wow, like there's more routes to this. Like there's more things I can do to get better. So I started to like fall in love with football, fall in love with the process, right? And ended up getting some success like my junior year with Coach Lucy and BY on the staff. And they were telling me about football. I went on a Washington State visit, and when I went there, I was like, "Man, you're telling me you got to go to weights, film, class, weights again, and then film again right after practice?" Oh man, like so, that was kind of overwhelming for me.
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna admit that, but I still was excited. But that competitor in me still was excited. Um, that goes into me like wanting to help. We'll get into that a little later, like wanting to
Hmm.
help the younger generation. But ended up not being a qualifier. I didn't
Mm.
get my schoolwork in. I didn't get my schoolwork in, and that's something that as a student athlete, I had to learn the hard way. Is that student does come first.
Hmm.
It should seem obvious because it's student athlete. It already comes first. But I definitely, as a kid, as a young kid, I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have somebody like coming down and telling me like, hey, like your grades need to be right for you to do that. So ended up like I still could have continued my football journey at Independence JUCO out in Kansas. I could have continued to play there, and
What school is
I
that?
just Independence, a national JUCO.
Independence.
I
Okay, yeah.
Independence. That's what it was called.
Yeah.
I think they were on what's that film that they have uh for the JUCO players, the school from Mississippi. You know what I'm talking
Oh,
about?
yeah. I know you're talking about. I don't know the name off the top of my head, but
Yeah, I don't know the name off the top of my head either, but I think they were the next school to have it.
hmm.
Independence was, and I remember one of the guys was talking to me like, "Yo, we got all these dudes going big time Division 1. Like you already had it, you know what type of player you are. You got to come to this school, right?" And it just wasn't clicking for me,
Hmm.
Like being that young, I was like, man, like I'm kind of embarrassed. I'm kind of upset that like I didn't get to go straight D1. But I knew if I had to start from the bottom again, which you're not starting from the bottom if you go JUCO. You're
Yeah,
blessed.
no.
You're blessed if you're
Yeah.
going JUCO. I'm a JUCO athlete, so you're blessed. At the time, I was 17 years old, so I was like, man, I got to start over. Like, I'm going to a weak school. Like, I was thinking like JUCO was kind of like me just staying home and like going to Whatcom.
Yep.
And that's just what I was comparing it to. Like, no disrespect to Whatcom at all either. Shout out Whatcom, Coach
Yeah.
Meek out there,
Coach
yeah,
Meek, yeah.
Al, yeah, shout out all them. But as a 17-year-old, I was like, man, I gotta go JUCO. Like, I'm starting over from the bottom. Like, I'm supposed to be this D1 athlete. Like, whatever everybody else is looking at, like, I'm supposed to be that person. And I didn't realize that. And so I was like, nah, like I'm basketball all the way. Like if I'm gonna start somewhere from the bottom, like my first love is what I'm gonna do. And so that's how I chose basketball. And basketball is my first love. I just remember always waking up, going to the basketball courts and literally just hooping all day. Like seeing people come in from like on summer times from different states, different areas, like, oh, like let's play basketball. Like it's a camaraderie sport at the same time. Like everybody knows you go to the park, you know what I'm saying? Like you got five, you got four, you got one, like let me hop onto the team. Like it doesn't matter. It's a game. Everybody loves the game of basketball, I feel like. So that's how I chose basketball, and that grind in football is a different beast. It's
Yeah.
definitely you definitely got to be prepared for it. You got to be prepared for it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think your thinking is when you're 17 is a lot of the same kids thinking, like the JUCO is the bottom and oh, I don't want to go there and I want something better. I know I'm better. But at the end of the day, like you said, a JUCO offer is a blessing, and being able to
Yeah,
go to that level is, you're still playing at the next level, which not many people get to do in general.
exactly.
Well, so what was
And,
it
and
like? So you go.
yeah, I was just gonna basically feed off you. Like, it's a blessing to go JUCO,
Mm-hmm.
and also it's it's a blessing, and I can't think of the word, but that work that you put in at JUCO turns you into a different player, man. It gives
Oh
you a
yeah.
different mentality because you're starting from the bottom. You become like I want to say you become a beast. Like you really become a beast because you fighting with guys probably better than some of the D1 athletes, D2
Yeah.
athletes or D athletes. And they're grinding for the same thing you want. So like in terms of that, you start to learn how to play with good players. You start to learn how to compete against good players. And you're gonna be a sophomore or a junior going into a 4 year university that just recruited a freshman class. So you basically one step ahead.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean you're not giving up much, but it's just your mentality. You got to go into it with a whole different approach.
Yeah, I agree. And some people don't know how that JUCO grind is. It's
Mm.
really, we'll get into that here in a second. But what was it like going through the process of picking a JUCO for basketball? And were there any other schools you considered other than Olympic?
Yeah. So I actually went to Central Arizona first.
That's right. Yep.
Then I transferred to Olympic. Central Arizona, I chose them because they can offer full rides at a national JUCO. You can get basically a full ride. I had to pay for my books, so it's a few $100s, but
Yep.
everything else was paid for. That was the main thing I was doing. There was no way like I could afford going to school, without a scholarship. So like that's also another thing that played into the part of me just being embarrassed, like losing out and not being a qualifier. But yeah, as JUCO, definitely had to go somewhere that was gonna give me the money, to go to school, to attend, and pursue my degree. Also, I just wanted to play basketball, man. To keep it honest with you, I feel like a lot of people go in like, oh, where am I gonna live? Like, where am I? Like, what area? What city? Like, I'm not there for that. If I wanted to worry about where I was gonna live, I'm just gonna live in Seattle or like where I grew up at. Like I'm here to play basketball. I'm here to win. So everything that consists of the recruitment to go to a JUCO was based off of basketball and how the ability of what if the coach connects. If I connect with the coach, if the coach thinks of me as somebody like that he wants to help.
Mm-hmm.
And I would never ever thought like, yeah, like I'm gonna go to a school that's saying like you're gonna play because I don't think you're supposed to go to a school thinking that at all. I think you should go to a school thinking, okay, I'm gonna have to compete for the starting spot. Even if you think or even if you know or think that you're gonna be that guy, you have to go in there and be willing to like show that every day. Like I was just watching Shay Shay's podcast,
Mm-hmm.
Uncle Shay. Yeah, and he said when I was a tight end in the league, he said I had to literally go into work every day, work, practice, and show them one play, at least one play that makes them want to keep me. And at this point, he's one of the best tight ends to ever play,
Yeah.
and he's saying that right now. So like you start realizing it when you get older, or you start realizing when it's too late. And I want to be like a person, just like you want to be a person, to tell these young dudes like, hey, like it's real out here. Like you definitely have to have a different mentality, a different approach,
Mm-hmm.
whether you or whether you anything. Like you got to go into work every day. You know.
Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. It is a lot. And what led you to transferring from the Arizona school and then coming back to Washington after the 1 year there?
Yeah, so the JUCO grind when you say that it's real, man. Like you got
It's
12
hard.
dudes there from different cities, and at the time, so I'm in Arizona. At the time we had dudes from Chicago, dudes from Cali, dudes from Washington.
Especially
Just
those
like
national JUCOs all
yeah,
over.
yeah, and these are guys like you go to if somebody ever goes to a national JUCO jamboree, all you will see is D1s.
Yeah.
Like you'll see D1s, top D2 programs. Rarely do you see NAIA programs unless they're like top of
Yeah.
the line. Because at a national JUCO, everybody knows you're going just for a short time. You're not going there like that's not where you're landing.
Yeah.
And it's usually D1 bounce backs or somebody that's supposed to be going somewhere, but something happened. And so we had a lot of guys that could hoop, a lot of guys that could start different places. We ended up making the playoffs, but we were the last seed, and we were probably the most talented team in the league. So I ain't gonna get into too much like what happened in practices and stuff, but guys in there, they was chirping, like couldn't get along, like it just wasn't camaraderie. There was no camaraderie there, and in Washington, I feel like in the Northwest Conference, at Squalicum without and Blaine, we had a lot of camaraderie. Like we're small towns, so it's like we know people. Like we like playing with each other. We're gonna build relationships, build connections. At a JUCO, you can't do that in a year, and you can't do that if somebody doesn't want to force that relationship because you guys are only there for what a few months out of the season, like
Yeah.
to form that bond. So uh at Central Arizona, I think after the year that we played, uh 9 guys left.
Wow.
And I could have stayed and just been like, okay, like let me do my thing, let me come back to this program. But I'm Christian, so I pray to God and I talked with him and I was just like, yeah, like what should I do, Lord? Like basically giving it to him. And all of a sudden David, one of my guys, called me and was like, hey, like I'm going to Olympic. I'm transferring from my national JUCO up to Olympic up north, like back home. And I was just like, man, like I could team up with him, like, and it would be cool. Like talked with the people at Olympic. I got my scholarship to where like I could pay or take out a loan or do something. And so I was like, okay, cool. Like I'm gonna go to Olympic. Um, and that's kind of how I decided to go to Olympic. One of my bros, David Serger, he went there, and I knew we was gonna be really good. 6'9", 6'9" forward who could shoot lights out. I was like, okay, I could play with that. I could definitely play with that.
So what was that year like at Olympic and the competition inside the NWAC? When I coached at Whatcom last year, there's a lot of competition and there's a lot of great athletes all around, and what
Yeah.
was it like inside the NWAC and then coming back home to play up in the state of Washington?
Oh, okay. So it was man amazing. I love playing basketball. I'm humble. I really like playing against everybody. Even if on the court, you start chirping a little bit. It's all respect at the end of the day. It's all love. And I love the game of basketball. So playing with all those talented players, different cities, different backgrounds, different style of plays, like it was just amazing. And I feel like it helped my game become even better because now to be honest, I feel like any basketball player that says like, "Oh, like I don't learn nothing from him. I don't learn nothing from other teams, other players," like I think they're lying, because the game of basketball, everybody has their own type of style. But then what happens when you get a player like Anthony Davis playing like a guard? Jokic, passing like a point guard. They're taking from players too. Like you're
Mhm.
taking from a big, you're taking from a guard, a wing. Like I just think like all of that, all those attributes and intangibles, like just makes the game beautiful. And so my year at Olympic, we were number one.
I think I lost you. Yeah. Yeah, I don't hear you now. All right. We lost you for a second, but we're back. So you're at Olympic.
Yes, sir. So I was at Olympic. I guess another sad story, but in the end, it all worked out in God's plan. But at Olympic, so we was having a great year. I think I was averaging like 21 and 6, and then David was averaging like 32, and then I had another guard that went to Florida Gulf Coast. Sam, I don't know his last name, but shout out Sam if he ever sees it. But he went to FGCU, and he was averaging 30 as well. And we were number one. I was like, let's go. Like, we're about to win the chip. Like, my sights already set. I think that was the year. So Oregon State had came to my game. Seattle U when Cameron Dollar was there. I want to Portland came. They were talking to me. And so I was feeling good, like feeling great. Like, okay, like, you know what? I just got to stick to this schoolwork, put the time in the gym rat, always in the gym. I wasn't out there in the streets. I was always shooting on the gun. Like, that was what I do. In the weight room, just trying to get to the next level. Uh, so ended up playing a game against Everett, another good team. Uh, Ref fouls me out of the game. Uh, I'm upset a little bit, you know. At the time I was younger, so I was like, man, like they're coming for me, you know. They're coming for me, and I don't know. I don't want to blame it on nobody but myself because it was my actions. But the ref had, just walked by me, said something, yada yada, doesn't matter. Went back in to the locker room, and I was just trying to find the ref. I was like, yo, let me see where the ref's at. Uh, Not trying to get physical, just trying to be like, yo, like, what do you mean? Yeah, this and that. Hash it out. Uh, Nothing happened. Didn't get to see the ref. Ended up going back into practice the next day, and the athletic director calls me in the office, and the ref said he felt threatened for his safety. And so basically, I had to have this whole like meeting with a counselor, the what is it, the NWAC? It's not the NWAC. Is it the NWAC? Yeah, the
Yeah,
NWAC board. And they were like, we're gonna keep it in the in-house. Like they decide what you do, right? And I was like, cool, like I haven't had this situation before, I've never this isn't me, I just was upset in the time. So I was like, I'll pay my dues, like I'll get suspended a game, like I'll do whatever you ask me to do, I'll do it, because I don't want to lose out again. I knew that feeling in high
hmm
school. So I was like, I can't lose out again, right? Ended up uh the athletic director, I won't mention any names. He
yeah,
was
yeah.
like, yeah, we just don't allow that at our school. You can't play with us anymore. Like you need to go to counseling. And so I was like, man, got kicked off the team, right? So
Crazy.
I was just kind of like, what, like, what's gonna happen? And I think that same week, Coach Jackson from Portland called, Biola called me. Oregon State just stopped talking to me. Obviously, they're high
Yeah.
level. Like, they're not gonna deal with anything like that.
hmm
Uh, they're like, hey, like, it's just a red flag. Like I can't do anything about it. You got kicked off the team. There's so many other kids that get this opportunity. Like that want this opportunity and don't have problems like that. So understood. And at the end of the day, it's business, right? So I was like, man, like, what I got to do now? Like, what am I gonna do? And so I'm sitting there praying again. And the Meek School actually, Lewis and Clark State College, where I ended up going. Shout out Coach Johnson, Coach Life, all of them. Uh, they were like, oh, they're like, we heard about what happened. Like, we're still gonna be here. Like, we talked to your old coaches. They did their due diligence.
Yeah.
And so like that's what made me be like, yeah, like I gotta go to LC, because no other school went and talked to my high school coach. Like no
hmm
other school went and asked people like that was around me, like how, like, is he really, like was this just a situation? they kind of just asked my athletic director, somebody that doesn't really know me, or like asked somebody like my coach, who at the time I thought, we was close, but it is what it is, right?
Yep.
Uh, like they asked them, and then they gave their perspective on the situation, and I lost out, but I also like it's a blessing. It was a blessing in disguise. I wouldn't trade my life in. There's things I would change, obviously. Who wouldn't go back and change something that like happened if they could avoid it?
Hmm.
But I definitely wouldn't change it because it taught me good lessons. And I still ended up eventually getting to my goal of where I wanted it to be. So I definitely had a time at Olympic though. So that was my short story, my short stint at Olympic.
Man, after one instance, I think that's crazy. Honestly,
Yeah,
I don't agree with that. But I mean, like you said, it's business and decisions are made, and there's nothing you can do about it. But
yeah.
focus on yourself and what can be next. It kind of does transition, and I was going to talk about Lewis and Clark next. So what was it like going in there your junior year, right? I think you played 35 games, started 15, right? 16 of them. What was it like playing with Meek again and then going from the NWAC to NAIA ball?
So going from the NY to the AIA, big jump, big jump because we had probably a top five, top 10 team in the nation at Lewis and Clark State College. Going into I think I started 16 games, 15 games, like you said.
Yeah.
At the time, I was like, my role was come off the bench and score. Come off the bench and score. Like this is what you got to do. I felt like I was better than some of my teammates, which are my brothers to this day.
Yeah.
Um, but going in with 8 seniors, Damek at the point guard spot, like it was just tough. You had to have a rotation. But that being said, I had to change my mindset, my mentality into saying, okay, like this is what it's gonna take to win. Let me go out here and show that I can stay on the floor. And so even when I didn't start those games, I would come in, I would score, I would finish the games. And so, or like some games, like if I wasn't on, I'll be there right there, support my team. Cause I knew there was gonna be a time where they needed me.
Hmm.
And so my junior year, my first year going there, I was coming 6 man off the bench. Actually, there was another person, Andre McCowan, that was All American. He was coming off our bench, and so like me and him would go in the game, and it would just be like, whoa, like these guys just like they leveled up. How they come bring their bench in and like level up. And so like competing in practice at Lewis and Clark State College, I'm telling you, if you think about going NAIA, Lewis and Clark State College is a great school to go to for basketball because like you go into practice, you get your stats for practice, you get your shooting percentages from practice, you get put on teams before you go to practice, even teams, and like you're going in there to compete because if you don't compete, you don't play. And there's been guys that have quit. There's been guys that have said like I'm done. Guys been kicked off the team because they're not in shape. Like this is a real deal program. Like this isn't this isn't something that like okay, like we're gonna let you come here and slack off. Like no, we're gonna make you come here and work because somebody else could be here with blessed with this opportunity. And going to that level, man. I was never scared of the competition. I can I don't want to sound like arrogant when I say like, oh yeah, like it wasn't that good, but like yeah, it was good basketball. You level it up, you play against other players that have put in the same time or more time than you.
Hmm.
But I love competition, man. I'm a competitor, so playing with Damek again, that gave me a sense of comfort as well. Like, okay, he knows me. Like if I go right here, like I know I'm gonna get the ball this way. I know he's like if he's in trouble like this, I know where he needs somebody to be. So it's just gonna connect, it's gonna click. And eventually we showed it. We showed it both years. We hit the final four my junior year and my senior year came into a way different role. Came into another role as being one of the premier guards, like alongside with Damek. Playmaker. Now I got the ball in my hands a lot more. So that was really exciting. We ended up being the number 3 team in the nation throughout probably like half the year, and then COVID hit, man. We couldn't get the ring. COVID
Yeah.
got us good. So um that was unfortunate. I was sad, but I was also like, you know, every single time I'm about to reach the top, it just they bring me down right
Yeah.
here. They put me down right here. But I'm a big believer in God's plan. I know He has a plan for everybody, so I knew He had a plan for me. I just had to stick with that hope, that faith, and ended up getting hit up by Paul Atala. He works for FIBA at Lebanon, an agent out there, and he basically was like, I think you can get a career overseas going, and so I ended up signing to go play in Morocco for a year.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And I just want to go back to your senior year just real fast. Just want to shout out
Yeah,
because I
yeah,
know you were NAIA All-Star, right? I think you set the school record for 39 straight free throws made. I don't know if that record still stands, but I think you're also like sixth in the nation in three-point percentage, right? Almost
yeah,
40, 48, 49%.
yeah.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
Josiah, that's crazy.
Yes,
And you
yes.
shot a lot.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But that goes into being a gym
Work on the
rat.
gun. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, like that's what we did. Like that when in JUCO, when I like conditioned myself to just be like, okay, I'm gonna go to the cafeteria, and when some dudes they're like, oh man, I'm just gonna go and sleep, man. I just lifted weights, like I went to school, I got some shots up before practice and after practice. Um, I got time, I can relax now.
Hmm.
What I'm gonna relax for, Like I'm
Still
in
work
a
to do.
exactly. I'm in a place where it's like it's not fun. Like this isn't fun. What am I gonna go do? And then what? I'm gonna go sit on the bed and play Fortnite. Like I didn't want to do that at the time. I didn't want to do that at the time. And so I would always just go to the gun. Like let's just get the speaker out, get on the gun, and just shoot. Boom, boom. I'm telling you, I'll be in there tired, like my arm hurting. Like I'm still just gonna shoot like as much until I just be like, okay, I can't go no more. Like I can't go no more
Yeah.
because I knew football actually helped me out with this. And football opportunities are limited. So you have to execute.
Yep.
Basketball, you got a leash. You got a leash, right? Like, okay, like cool. Like if he misses a couple, we'll get it back.
Hmm.
But in football, if they throw you a fade to call your number, you gotta be ready.
You gotta be ready.
Yeah, you only get that leash if you start really balling.
Yeah.
Like you need to be ready. And so I was like, okay, like let me put that in perspective. Like I need to hit at least 5, 6 threes a game. Like there's no way I don't do a good job if I don't.
Hmm.
And finding that like key thing, just that clicking in my head made the game so much easier. Because now when I'm shooting, I'm about to shoot a three. You got guys just sprinting at you. And then it's like, whoa, like they're already out of position. Like they're not even they're out of position. So now you could start playing your own game. Like, okay, I could drive here. Now somebody collapses. You can kick, kick, kick. And that's what we worked on in practice all the time. And so that just like translated even more into the game where we became one of the best teams and shooting like that. I ain't gonna say it felt like it was easy, but it did. It did for sure. Like when you put the time in and like you were in there for hours and then like you in there with your guard too, your other guard, Damek,
Hmm.
brother, like basically shooting like all day, like 3 hours a day, and then like still be like, okay, let's go play basketball, let's go play ones or something like that. Like you just got that comfort, like, oh, that's cash. Like that's cash. And then you got somebody believing in you. Like
Yeah.
it makes the game so much easier. But putting that time and preparation in, like shooting threes in the games, it was easy after that. Like I've been doing this, so I have to show that like I put the time in, I put the effort in. So